efficiency as well. Solar lighting, we do this every day, so just for the commercial sector more so. And of course, you could apply this to your home and residence also, and remove any kind of perimeter dusk to dawn lighting that you may have. Although it may be small, you could consider 300 watts running from dusk to dawn that you could remove with solar lighting. So that's something you could explore as well. The commercial solar designs is something that we coined within the company. Given that we are engineering based, we came up with these designs to sort of encourage the implementation for the commercial sector, given that the equipment we use is of a very high class, considered best in the world, our suppliers for that category, commercial and industrial, and we could guarantee, a 7-year return on investment and a net zero expense for commercial clients up to 30 plus years, 35 plus years even. Of course, some of the main systems that we sell for commercial and industrial clients will be 30 to 60 kilowatts, thereabouts. They remove up to sometimes even 100%, some of them go entirely off the grid. And you could displace, if you're a commercial client, up to 20,000 plus kilograms of CO2 per month. And of course, the systems are capable of doing onboard diagnostics, so not necessarily we have to come and visit the facility to diagnose or troubleshoot the system. Those are the advantages of our commercial designs. These are some of our projects. A job being executed in Port of Spain, that's about 40 kilowatts. And something that's more visible to our listeners is a 30 kilowatt solar system that's on just past Edinburgh, around Chaguanas there. You can see it from the highway. The applications for commercial sector, of course, could be lighting, could be plant lighting, perimeter lighting. It applies to refrigeration, cold storage, backup generators, and plant instrumentation as well. So hot water, which is actually incentivized by the government. We'll get into that in the discussion later. But, again, being an engineering company, we've come up with our own designs for the plant. And those meet certain codes and standards, of course, which is what oil and gas clients want to see. So it's not just solar photovoltaics, which is electricity production alone. It is solar applied to hot water as well, which has tremendous energy savings. Like I said, wind is also advancing in its technology. There's portable wind, as you can see on the slide, and the geographical footprint has since advanced in wind technology to make it a lot less. And of course, the geographical footprint is a lot less when compared to solar energy when it comes to wind. And it's been advancing over the years, and we embrace that change and we follow suit, and we offer those services also. Solar energy for CCTV monitoring, we have partner companies that represent LTS. That's one of the world-class brands for CCTV technology, and we partner with them to do solar energy cameras and monitoring for example, a plant and the battery limits of a plant. It's difficult or costly to get power in those locations. So that's where solar lighting, that of course meets explosion-proof standards. And the same applies to CCTV monitoring as well. So we also do electrical engineering, and we have an energy reduction department, a whole separate department based on energy reduction, energy auditing, and offering that service as a consultation. Of course, being electrical engineers and electrical technicians, we could troubleshoot electrical issues, which we do on a daily basis. There's root cause analysis. I did some of that in my time within the oil and gas sector. So we apply electrical root cause analysis to not just solar energy implementations, but electrical installations in general. And of course, we could offer BOETT approvals. Myself being a registered professional engineer with the Board of Engineers at Trinidad and Tobago, we have that capability. Other engineers that we are with, that work with us, have that capability as well to give those approvals. And of course, solar energy could be applied to, as I said in the beginning, solar signage, gate motors, recreational facilities, and we're actually working with the government now to sort of increase this implementation, which of course will increase awareness within the renewable energy space. We do have a charitable foundation, and as a matter of fact, this year we are exceeding our target of about 5 kilowatts per annum. So we now have 7 kilowatts of solar energy that we have planned to install for charitable installations by the end of 2021. So we're very excited about that. That's pretty much it, Adam. We could get right into the discussion now.
Yeah, thanks a lot for that, Graeme. I mean, I guess one thing I've noticed is you seem to be in a really good position to talk about this, because you don't just do solar, but you do wind as well, and energy reduction. Would you be able to tell us a little bit about the state of the renewable energy sector in Trinidad? How does it look for renewable energy companies and I guess people who are interested in getting involved in renewable energy in Trinidad?
Excellent. So, I mean, I think that's a good question to kickstart this discussion. So we are really in exciting times. What I could say is, the critical mission, we're not just considering Trinidad and Tobago alone, but globally. We are pretty much living through one of the biggest foundational energy transformations or energy transitions that we could ever imagine. So the entire energy landscape will pretty much change more over the next decade than it has over the last 100 years or so. So, I mean, that's as we race to reduce, climate change. I mean, we're seeing it happen all now. We're pretty much living in it, and we need to do something about it. So, I mean, this is apart from trying to also meet global energy demands, which are, of course, rising. How do we meet those energy demands? The obvious answer, at least now, is renewable energy. So with respect to solar energy being one of the more predictable energy resources, if I'm not, it's about more than 1,000 gigawatts of solar energy we have globally. And I mean, Trinidad is certainly doing its part. We'll get into that discussion later, but many advancements in an attempt to reduce energy consumption and increase energy efficiency from solar are being made, but they might not necessarily be commercialized yet. So there's one of the more common ones, which is perovskite solar cells. There's also something called triboelectric nanogenerators, which use, not to get too technical, but piezoelectric crystals to produce energy, not just in solar irradiance conditions, but also in rain. So it uses those tiny vibrations to produce energy as well. Clear glass solar cells, which could be applied to commercial buildings, on the glass of commercial buildings and your home as well. There's also tandem solar cells, and recently I came across something called solar paint. So you basically paint your building with this thing, and it pretty much produces energy for the commercial building or your home as well. So now, as it stands, monocrystalline, which is the more common, well-known type of solar panel technology, produces somewhere around, give or take, 20%. And these new advancements are pretty much producing somewhere close to 40% or more. So, of course, just to reiterate, it's not commercialized yet. So as it begins to commercialize, we would see the cost of solar continuously reducing, as it has pretty much halved over the last decade or so. And of course, increase the implementation and increase the attractiveness of solar energy. And of course, that's the issue. So once these newer technologies become more commercialized, which it has not been yet, still in the research and development phases and testing phases, but it may take some time to sort of match up to the cost of energy from the local utility provider using natural gas and carbon-based energy.
Okay. We have a question from Mark Edwards here, and the question is, what has been the biggest barrier to renewable energy technology implementation in Trinidad and Tobago in your experience thus far?
That's a good question, Mark. So the biggest barrier, I think we would get into that in the discussion, but we can talk about it now, is basically incentives, right? So the incentives are pretty much present for the residential sector where solar water heater is concerned. They recently increased it from 25% to now 100% tax credit on the cost of solar water heating equipment up to 10,000 TT. So, I mean, as it stands, you know, the biggest implementation barrier would have to be the incentives, because there's nothing existing yet for solar photovoltaic technology, you know, and I mean, eventually, I mean, it's inevitable. So it has to happen. I mean, TNTech, the local utility provider, is actually in arrears to NGC of close to $4 billion, you know, so it's a lot to digest. And in terms of if we were to improve that debt position or reduce that debt position, you know, these incentives such as feed-in tariffs, renewable energy obligation certificates, green certificates, renewable energy rider programs, and these are things we could adopt from countries. It's not new. Scandinavian countries, more closer to us, Barbados, has these things existing already. So, I mean, it's soon to come, and electrical rates are usually revised every 5 years or so, so it's up for review by the Regulated Industries Commission. And of course, I'm sure our viewers have probably seen more discussions being held with the local utility provider and RIC to potentially increase utility rates, which unquestionably is the game changer for solar energy to be more attractive. Hope that answers your question.
You said the rates are up for review now. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
You mentioned something there with the tax incentive for the water heaters, and for solar water heaters, I guess, and you said like it's up to 10,000. Is that sufficient for you know, a good enough system for your home, or is that something that's, you know, how does that stack up against the pricing of solar water heaters for personal use?
Actually, it may very well be. I wouldn't discuss pricing here, but you know, it may very well be that you get in terms of return on investment, that will be within 3 years, pretty much, with this incentive now that exists. Okay.
Okay, so it's pretty sizable. That's good.
Correct. Yeah.
And it seems to me that the fact that they do have those incentives shows that the want is there to push it. It's just they might be behind in the times of, you know, just giving solar water heaters when they have other options available, basically.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Excellent. All right. The other question, actually, you mentioned some of the, you know, advanced technologies and stuff. You know, clear glass and solar paint and all the other terms I can't pronounce. But would you say that these advancements are now kind of the ones that are commercial, make solar a lot more competitive compared to gas power in terms of like your cost per kilowatt hour? Or how is it?
I would say not yet, but not yet for residential sectors, but for commercial sectors, it is now cost effective for a commercial entity to install solar energy. And as I would have went through the presentation, you would have seen that, you know, we have a design whereby commercial companies, entities, or commercial buildings or agricultural farmers in general can explore these systems and have net zero expense on the system for up to 30 plus years or 35 plus years and get a guaranteed return on investment within 7 years. So it's not just solar energy actually alone that would save or give you that return on investment. It's actually the conjunction of using the engineering capability within the company and solar energy, the electrical engineering capability together with, is like a synergistic combination, if you may, to guarantee that return on investment.
Okay. I mean, that's, if you have a guaranteed return on investment, that's excellent. You don't really get much guarantees.
Exactly, yeah.
So I guess on that though, how long do solar panels and batteries last? Like what kind of lifetime are we looking at? Will we need to change out the system after 10 years, 15 years? How does that work?
So we get that question a lot, you know. I mean, and it's very important for our clients and our listeners to become aware of this. So apart from the, you know, the return on investment of about 7 years or less for commercial entities, residential, not so much. Well, when I mean not so much, I mean more years, right? So it might be closer or a little more than 10 years. And I mean, if you consider batteries, it's about 6 to 7 years. And of course, that depends on the configuration. There are many types of different batteries that exist. There's gel, there's flooded, there's marine batteries, there's EGM. A lot of new technology has been coming into the market recently. I can't keep up, but there's lithium ion, of course, which is the more frequently preferred one, given its greater depth of discharge. I think it can give you about more than 6,000 cycles. And solar panels could actually last up to 30 years. After 25 years, the energy efficiency usually begins to drop. So the output wouldn't be as much from your PV array. And of course, it draws back to the, reverts back to the foundation. The thing to make this more eye-catching for residential clients will be to introduce these incentives for the renewable energy technologies and the solar technology. And like I said, these incentives are existing for water heating. And although, you know, it might seem like a little bit, that's like 4+ kilowatts, depending on the sector you're referring to. Usually it's around 4 kilowatts for a domestic client, but it's a big impact. And the savings are pretty much very attractive now with the incentive, and you make that investment, you could potentially get a return on investment within a few years or so, and the system will last somewhere close to 15+ years. Okay.
So what I'm hearing is that your panels and your array and stuff that would last for a decent life. You may have to change your battery, or you will have to change your battery 5 to 7 years, somewhere around there. But yeah, your main system is lasting. Okay.
Correct is right. Yeah, that's pretty much it. The only thing is, and like I said, the incentives will really increase the attractiveness of it, because when you have a 10-year return on investment, 6-7 years, your battery's gonna fail. You pretty much, and that being the bulk cost of your system. But I mean, there are a lot of advantages for residential clients to go solar. You know, voltage fluctuation, appliances last longer. Solar is going to remove all of that. And of course, it's the consistency of supply and what we refer to in reliability terms, standby redundancy of your power, which increases reliability of your power. If you live in a rural area or even an urban area, depending, sometimes current might go very frequently. And of course, you know, when systems get low voltage and they shut on and off, the appliances last a lot less. They reduce the serviceability of the appliances. But batteries could last that long. It all depends on the way you use your system. However, when we design systems, we prevent batteries being discharged below a certain percentage to ensure that the longevity and the value, the maximum value that you could potentially get from your system and investment is achieved.
I see we have 2 more questions coming to the chat. Thanks a lot, guys, for putting your questions in. We have one from Julian Braithwaite. Do you see the future of renewables in Trinidad being more geared towards larger scale installations or microgrids, like how we've been talking?
I would say both. I would say both. It's difficult to say which one it will be more geared towards, but I would like to see both being the core foundation of the renewable energy or energy transition within Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay. And from Keel Blondell, so is it that the biggest incentive by way of net metering is not available to our national public utilities company, TT, in Trinidad and Tobago? This can actually allow the utility subscribers to make earnings from excess while using energy on demand. So I guess what Keel is talking about is returning to the grid, maybe having smart grid systems of some sort.
Absolutely. Smart grids is pretty much referred to like a active grid. So it's bidirectional. So, I mean, it's pretty much means that when things normalize, everybody's back out to work, kids are at school, your home is pretty much producing energy. You're not using any energy or consuming any energy or very negligible loads, so that energy could therefore be exported to the grid, and you could very much have a net zero bill, or the utility company could owe you for energy that they took from you or you produced and sent back to the grid. There are actually some demonstration sites, Mr. Blondell, right now in Trinidad and Tobago that are testing this. So that obviously, in conjunction with incentives, is of course the game changer that we've all been waiting for. So that will unquestionably make it attractive for residential and more attractive for commercial clients to explore renewable energy implementations, applications in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah. Right now, though, it's basically like
You're welcome.
You can save your bill, but you're not going to get paid for that in Trinidad. You're not going to return energy.
Correct. So, I mean, usually we remove about 50 to 100% of a residential client's utility bill. And of course, as you rightly said, it's not set up yet as an active bidirectional grid network. So that time will soon come, though.
Yeah, I know in the States they have some places that they do that.
Yeah,
I heard about that for a couple of years now, actually.
Yeah, it's referred to in Barbados, BLMP, Barbados Light and Power. They have it, and I'm sure whoever has been to Barbados, every roof has either a solar system or a water heater. Every single roof, and that's been for decades. Years ago, you could go Barbados and see everybody with a water heater on their roof. And people will call and say, "Well, why Trinidad don't have this yet?" And I said, I mean, I don't talk bad about my country at all. I love Trinidad and Tobago, but we're just not there yet because we're comfortable with what we have. We have an abundance of natural gas, and we have all these companies coming here exploiting these resources, and we benefit, of course, because we get cheap energy. But I mean, I'm not in a position to say what's going to happen in the future, how much it's going to increase by, or when it's going to increase. All I could say is it's happening very soon. I know the discussions are being held now, and you could take examples, for what other countries pay for utility power. I know some places in the UK, they actually pay somewhere close to, $2 in terms of TT dollars per kilowatt hour.
What is ours by comparison? I don't even know, to be honest.
Ours is, for residential, is about 32 cents per kilowatt hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
So all magnitude, yeah.
It's a big change. Grenada, I think, is about, in terms of TT dollar comparison, is about, sorry, is about $1.50 per kilowatt hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess that leads into a good question here with, are there any ongoing solar projects being implemented by the government of Trinidad? Like what are we doing?
We're doing a lot. And I mean, we've been marked as, I think as of 2017, by the most energy inefficient country in the world. We actually produce 2.5 times the world average of CO2 emissions. So, I mean, it's become clear to our administrations that we have a problem and we need to address it. So, you know, we've ratified Paris Agreement, Kyoto Protocol just a few years ago. These are that more than 100 countries ratified this agreement to reduce global emissions of carbon dioxide, carbon-based energy reduction in general. But I mean, this has certainly created a mandate for us to reduce our carbon emissions. So I'll be happy to introduce our viewers to some of these projects. For example, some of the more well-known project will be the megawatt scale solar project, which is through the consortium of energy companies as Lightsource BP, BPTT, and Shell. And I think UTT is part of that as well. And that's a total of about 110 or 112. Don't quote me on that. It's about 110 or 12 megawatts of solar power that they're going to produce. And that's in Brechin Castle, Justin Coover, and Golden Grove. So that project is actually confirmed. I know that for a fact. I believe it's going to start, based on our sources and what is in the public domain, construction of about late this year, December, early next year, 2022, if not before. And actually, there's a company called Newgen Energy Limited that's spearheaded by Mr. Philip Julian, one of the very well-known names within the energy sector. They actually intend to piggyback off the Brechin Castle project to produce green hydrogen. So hydrogen as a whole separate ballgame right there. Hydrogen being an energy carrier, but not actually an energy source. You know, it had its a lot of negativity surrounding that technology, but the economy is emerging globally, and it's existing. Not just that, but NGC, NP, and the CNG team pretty much launched an energy efficient mobile app, because you know energy efficiency being pretty much what we should focus on first, because you could imagine applying solar energy to energy efficient loads will of course make your return on investment or value achieved from doing such an implementation a lot less attractive and eye-catching for a client. So energy efficiency and energy auditing is very important, and NGC launched the app for energy efficiency. So actually also installed somewhere around 100 kilowatts of solar energy in Coover, that's just off the rivulet there. That's a new pump station. I think that's powering the lighting and a few of their CNG pumps. I know Unipet actually has followed suit with solar energy implementations. National Trust has actually installed 12 kilowatts on Nelson Island. That's somewhere down the islands there in Chaguaramas. And of course, government offices and their real estate assets in general, they are exploring solar energy in all new constructions. And they're exploring also passive solar energy design. So passive solar energy design is pretty much a design of a building to make it use more, for example, natural rather than artificial lighting, give it a more natural airflow, make it meet what's called LEED, Green Building Certification. And I mean, at least for RESSCOTT Limited, I know we have a target of at least 100 kilowatts by the end of this year. So the company is growing. And I mean, I can safely say our administration now and previous administrations have really been pushing the green energy drive to remove ourselves from having these statuses, as I previously mentioned.
And just for a size comparison, what is a typical if you wanted to get a system to power your residential home compared to a commercial? Like, what are we looking at? 50 kilowatts to compare to 100, you know?
So 50 kilowatts might be a little bit of an overkill. Unless you're mining Bitcoin or something like that. But, you know, there are, what we recommend standardized packages. So that could range from 1.5 kilowatts to 3 kilowatts to 6 kilowatts and 10 kilowatts. What's more frequently sold for our residential sector is somewhere between 3 and 6 kilowatts. 6 kilowatts could power AC units, it could power water pumps, kitchen appliances, lighting, pretty much majority of appliances with the exception of let's say heating elements like water heaters, but then there's solar water heaters. Some clients might have like large ponds, fish pumps, aquaponics, hydroponics that require pumps running 24/7. Might not be feasible for 6 kilowatts, and you could still maintain a utility power connection. Like I said before, to increase the reliability of your power supply and increase the standby redundancy of your power.
So if you wanted to be 100% off the grid, you could do like a 10 to 15 kilowatts, and
you could say like a 10 kilowatt then, yeah.
Right. Okay, and then compare that to like I know there's completely huge differences in size for commercial enterprises, but what would be a typical commercial setup?
I would say anywhere between 30 and 60 kilowatts.
Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, I honestly have no clue of the size of per energy. Yeah. It is interesting to hear that. Correct. We have another question.
Sorry, that could go straight up to 150, 200 kilowatts for a commercial client. It all depends. Is it manufacturing? You have to identify high energy consuming loads first, energy auditing. How do we reduce energy being the first element that we target, and then see how we could implement renewable energy to ensure the value is attained to the client.
Yeah. No, I would imagine you would want to start with some kind of energy audit at first to kind of see where you're at and how you could reduce your overall load that you're using, and then you could go into. I mean, that's the low-hanging fruits, really.
Correct.
What changed? And yeah.
Who knows? Our client might do an energy audit and be satisfied with what their bill is after that.
Right.
Exactly. But renewable energy, 95% of the time, after energy auditing, they usually opt for a solar system because they see the value, and we show them the value in doing that.
So Mark Edwards again is asked, has the lack of a national renewable energy policy helped or hindered your installations, particularly in regards to standalone versus grid-tied systems? And what procedures can be followed to overcome any challenges identified? So it's a bit of a two parts.
Yeah, so has the lack of a national RE policy hindered your renewable energy installations? I would say more hindered than helped. Yeah, particularly in regards to standalone versus grid-tied systems. Yeah, it's more so hindered, Mark, the implementation of renewable energy. Incentives is what is required, particularly for the residential sector, to make renewables more attractive. What I could say safely is that in spite of this, the strategy that we use to encourage these implementations, it works. I mean, the company is operating, it works. The strategies that we have are present, and residential clients every day within the company are actually exploring renewable energy installations.
That's right, no. The other question I had there too was losing my train of thought here. Let me get back to it. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess with regard to disposing and recycling your solar panels, like what happens at the end of a life cycle of a solar array? How is that facilitated? Do we have facilities in Trinidad for that, or is it something that we have to outsource or send away? Or what?
You're asking real difficult questions, So there is no policy or guideline or standard that exists locally, and as a matter of fact, even in the US, there's no standard. But luckily, as of recently, California developed guidelines around how to dispose of solar energy panels, and I'll say some statistics actually. By the year 2050, the International RE Agency actually projects, given the rate of solar energy implementation now, given it is exponential, there's going to be up to 78 million metric tons of solar panels that would have probably reached its end of life, and that would probably equate globally to about 6 million metric tons of new solar waste every year. So
can they be reused in the system? Like, are they parts like you kind of raw parts to kind of put it back in?
Yes, absolutely. It can be reused. Silicon can be reused from old solar panels, and of course glass. I think the composition, just about 5% of a solar panel is made up of silicon. So the majority is glass, and the other elements being plastic and aluminum. But the metals is becoming clear that is a problem. So the metals are actually toxic metals. So there are companies, Solar First, if I'm not mistaken, out in the US, that have set up these facilities solely for the purpose of recycling solar panels. And I mean, it's toxic metals like lead, cadmium that are in these panels that will potentially, if they go into landfills, leach into the ground. And of course, these toxic metals could not just affect our environment, but it could affect human health as well. And I think the technologies that are the industrial processes that are existing to reuse solar panels and recycle solar panels, you can get actually up to 80% of the panel recycled. Reuse up to 80% of the silicon. And these processes are not new. It's stuff that's existing already. So, I mean, it's a bit difficult, but not too difficult. You use like thermal processes and etching to pretty much get that job done. So it's something that I've seen people get creative with recycling solar panels, building sheds, all kind of different stuff. But the actual recycling of it, you could reuse and get up to 80% of the silicon in a solar panel reused using industrial processes.
No, I mean, to me, I see it as the world has this push for sustainability, for sustainable energy. Obviously, solar, geothermal, wind, all this stuff is part of that. And it's our responsibility to not only get to that stage, but also to make sure we have the right procedures and stuff in place for disposal and these kind of stuff. So I know it's a challenging question, but I appreciate your answer.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so Arden Burrows here has asked, have there been discussions with the relevant ministries to incentivize the purchase by consumers of electric and hybrid vehicles? This is more on the vehicle side, with regard to adjustment of taxes. I'm not sure if you have insight onto that end as well.
Electric vehicles, I know tax and duties, if I'm not mistaken, are exempted once your electric vehicle is below, the battery is below a certain kilowatt hour value. And I think it's somewhere around 26 kilowatt hours, which is more on the smaller end, like the BMW i3s, the Nissan Leaf, and those other kind of vehicles. But once you cross that cap, you pretty much have to endure those taxes, etc.
And I guess a related one is if there's been a push to install PV and EV charging infrastructure for public service buildings and car parks. So yeah, to have those I guess there really aren't that many facilities to really charge up your electric vehicles should you choose to buy one.
Exactly. We've done it before. We've actually done a 12 kilowatt system to charge 2 electric vehicles, but the distance wasn't much in terms of traveling on a daily basis. So I think the push isn't there yet. I know some companies, for example, Unipet is actually exploring EV charging, or they have already EV charging in one of their gas stations. So it's something that they plan on increasing the implementation of exponentially. That I know for sure.
Okay. I guess with all that having solar panels and gas stations, so it kind of got me thinking with the industrial usage of solar energy. You talked about like commercial stuff with and some intrinsically safe systems. Have there been any offshore solar panel usage that you know of?
Yeah, De Novo Energy actually has plans or has started the implementation of a completely off-grid solar platform using explosion-proof technology. I think it's a partnership with them and Aquaterra, company out in the UK, that made that possible. So, I mean, you know, the oil and gas clients are really exploring this decarbonization effort. So, I mean, I commend De Novo for that.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that would be ideal if you want to be carbon neutral or even offsets. Then to have solar panels offshore is, you know, you're already there.
Exactly. Exactly, and but I mean, it's a different. It's very good to hear, but it's a different category. You know, explosion-proof solar. There's a lot of elements to consider when installing systems like that.
Right. I
You
guess.
can't make mistakes.
Yeah. No, definitely not. It's the stakes are very high with those kind of
Exactly.
In terms of, I guess, back to kind of government policies and stuff. What about like a carbon credit system? Do you know anything with have there been any developments in Trinidad on that, and you know, with respect to how like making yourself net neutral and getting carbon credits to sell? I believe some states are doing it, and some places in Europe as well will have this carbon credit system. I guess is one way to kind of have that incentive there. What are your thoughts on that?
I would say that there are schemes that we can learn from around the world. You know, some Scandinavian countries, particularly the UK, has developed something called ROCs or ROCs, renewable obligation certificates, or some places like Orkney in Scotland, they've developed green certificates. So pretty much, you know, how, for example, how Tesla makes their money.
Right.
Tesla makes their money by selling green certificates. So well, I want to say majority of. So the idea is it's like a small economy. If you are a company that encourages or has renewable energy by whatever means based on your process, whether you need electricity, biogas, or anaerobic digestion, fluidized bed combustion, depending on whatever your process is and how you generate your power, you know, because of that, the government will give you a certificate, and you could take that certificate and sell it to a carbon-based company. So for somebody that, or an organization that does not have much of any renewable energy implementation or any of their power generated from renewable energy, they are obligated to buy that certificate from that green energy company. And then in turn, obviously, that company gets money and can do whatever they want with it.
Sorry, I was just on mute there. No, that is, to me, that's one way I've been seeing. I don't know. Yeah, I haven't really looked into the system that much myself, but I have been seeing that pop up.
Yeah, that's soon to come. It's soon to come, and it's a game changer for commercial clients per se.
Yeah.
You know, and that would force them now to explore the renewable energy implementations.
Yeah, definitely. All right. I just want to reach out to the audience if any further questions for Mr. Graeme Jones or on solar energy. I know that so one of the things that SPE has been doing now, SPE, a lot of you might find yourselves here in petroleum energy society, thinking we're talking about solar now. Well, we've been changing our focus and really we have a huge drive now on sustainability. We have a GAIA initiative, which is part of why we got Mr. Jones here to talk about solar energy. That the aim is to empower all of our members who want to be involved in the alignment of the future of energy with sustainable development, and allowing oil and gas community to be, to act in service of this development, be part of the change. And to me, I think that is, is just such a good drive, because why would you not want to be part of something? I don't see it as two things that are competing against each other, but something that can benefit all of us, because we're in the energy business. Yeah, I'm just going to drop a link there to our GAIA, as well as put in I have one other event we have coming up. I'll put it in the chat shortly. But just to speak about that, if you want to be involved in sustainable development, join us and join the SPE initiatives, right, to do this, because we can be part of this change.
I think I'm going to join now.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, we're both. You used to be in the well, you are in the energy sector still. You used to be in this oil and gas energy sector. It's good that I'm really happy to see the stuff that you've been doing with the renewable energy, because it just shows that you can make that change if you have that drive.
Absolutely. I mean, it really wasn't easy to transition from the upstream and downstream oil and gas sector, but I mean, it was very helpful, because once you deal with oil and gas, you deal with engineering, codes, standards, assurance, QA/QC, etc. I lost a lot of sleep, Sorry about that. Just 1 second. Yeah. So yeah, I did lose a lot of sleep, and actually the idea of RESSCOTT Limited was born on a rig, Actually, while I was working with Baker Hughes, we were drilling a well from BP for BP, and it was actually born while drilling, so it's kind of ironic to know that the idea of RESSCOTT Limited was done during that. But like I said, it wasn't easy. I did get a lot of help from one of my business colleagues, who is now the operations director, Mr. Shamir Khan, who I actually met in the downstream energy sector, oil and gas sector. So I think.
When you say downstream, what part of what were you involved in?
I was in project engineering and root cause failure analysis and materials analysis.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. Interesting. So that was stuff like if something was to fail from the oil and gas sector, whether it's upstream, downstream, manufacturing, we would pretty much determine why it fails on a material basis, but also using mechanical, electrical, chemical engineering to determine why it failed. Okay.
I mean, you really have your hands in many things there.
Yeah, most certainly that.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think if nothing else, this has been an excellent conversation. I know I definitely have learned a lot. So I just want to thank you, sincerely for joining us on this talk. And I hope our listeners have also learned at least some little points there on solar energy. And if they need to reach out to you, Graeme, how can they do that?
I'm gonna send my personal email in the chat here, and I could send my cell contact. I have no problem with you guys giving me a call if you have any questions, concerns, you want to get involved. Maybe you want to get involved in RESSCOTT Limited, or within whatever capacity. Right now, we are looking for electrical engineers, electrical professionals, project engineers, and don't be worried that, oh well, you only have oil and gas, you know nothing about solar. We'll train you. It's not a problem, and so it's very easy to learn. And we'll introduce you and make you privy to our designs, etc. And I encourage you guys to reach out to me to see how we can make that job transition so you can make your energy transition.
Excellent. Thank you for that. One more thing before I go, I have put in that chat as well 2 links. One with the that was in all white, so nobody can read it, as well as another one in a blue that I've been putting in. We'll be sending out this link, but it's on the suggested energy transition policy for Trinidad and Tobago. We're going to have the UE, Department of Chemical Engineering, inviting, extending the invitation for this seminar. So please join in on that. I put the Zoom link there. And then we have Mr. Graeme Jones's contact there. And I have one last question. Would RESSCOTT be taking on any graduate mechanical engineers? We'll have a graduate.
I would say, yeah, absolutely. We had graduates work for us already, and I think it mustn't be sidelined at all. For us to prevent any kind of structural unemployment, because we are, oil and gas based, economy, and it's important for the new generation. I love working with young people, I love to hear their ideas. I love to see their passion, because I share that similar passion for decarbonization. And by all means, Damien, send an application. You have my number, you have my personal email, but you could call me. I'm a very down-to-earth individual. We could have a chat and see how we could position you, because right now, we're swamped. We install solar energy every single day, and we're looking for young, bright engineers to train and introduce them to the clean energy business.
Yeah, and that is the future, right? Exactly as you said. If we don't have the people who are ready to jump in, then when or as the economy does start to focus on renewable energy, and who are they going to turn to if we don't have people ready to go?
Correct. So it's important that the younger generation really gets involved and sensitize them and introduce them to the new age. It's a new age, it's a new technology. I mean, 30, 50 years from now, there might be a new technology, I don't know, but as it stands now, it's very important for the youth to get involved in renewable energy, clean energy technology, and increase so we could all, live a healthier life, breathe cleaner air, except for the Sahara dust,
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I won't keep it too much longer, but thank you so much. Really appreciate it, and appreciate you taking the time and feeling the range of questions we've thrown at you.
Yeah. Absolutely. It was a pleasure. And thank you very much, for the listeners. Like I said, contact information is there. You could reach out to me if you have any questions, want to implement solar energy, home business, we'll have the discussion.
Excellent. Thank you, Graeme. And thanks everybody for putting in questions and being part of this discussion. SPE, thanks you.
All right. Thanks very much, everybody. Take care.
All right.
Bye.